Just watching Torchwood is, I mean, you've done some great characters. Well, at least Spaceballs out. But,
because that's in a league of its own, I believe. Yes.
But you know what? I love this character you're doing on Torchwood. It's just, you forget about Bill Pullman like in the first 30 seconds. And you're just drawn in by this character. He's like my favorite character, actually.
Oh, good. Don't tell John.
Yeah, I won't tell
you need
John.
him to be John.
Yeah, I'm not gonna I mean, what did you have to do to prepare for that? What was it like? Was there any inspiration you got on how you created this character?
Well, the easy part of it is that there's so much information. I mean, it's kind of nowadays there's quite a bit of literature about different aspects of because the story is not one type of guy. He is a convicted murderer, pedophile. So there's a certain pattern of behavior that's you can identify in literature and things like that. And I always there's a book written in the 40s called The Mask of Sanity by Hervey Gleckie, who was one of the first ones, and I had read it because I was in The Killer Inside Me, that Jim Thompson novel, and I think that period of real pathological behavior was identified in a vivid way that I find more recent writings to kind of be clinical and apologetic or something like that, and distancing from who we are as people. So they don't. In the 50s, I thought what was Jim Thompson's take, which is extraordinary, written in first person, you get a lot about what it is to be a hunter or gatherer, and they're usually two types. They're different kind of subsets, but so that, and then you can watch on YouTube now. You can see everybody who's ever been convicted that ever got in front of cameras.
You have a lot of inspiration. You got to be careful what you check out of the library, though. They're going to flag you.
Yes. Funny, I did think about that. I thought, geez, where is that software that scrambles? I bet you Oswald Danes would have that on his computer,
That's the only reason why I have an officer. Preparing for this role.
Yeah.
I have a quick question, which is the way you're playing Oswald Danes, there's like a verbal kind of affectation to his speech, and kind of he moves a little different. Like, where did you get that from? Like, where's that? It's just an interesting touch.
An easy answer to that, but I have to go to a therapist probably to find out exactly why, and that costs more money than I have. So, but I did find it as just interesting to feel the syntax of Oswald is different than the other characters, and there's a way in which Russell and I really he is an extraordinary guy in terms of collaboration, and you're always kind of doing scenes, and after dailies he's texting you, thumbs up, good job. If there's things that bug you. Are you taking off? So good to see you, Dustin. All right. Well, I'm getting your number. We're going to get you on a horse and then But I think that he is, and then you can feel that a lot of the syntax is actually British, and so, but that works for Oswald. Because he's a teacher, school teacher, and that's always part of it. So there's a certain kind of, I think, just the language informed a lot of choices. Things happen. I don't know.
It was very creepy and very interesting.
Oh, good. Yeah.
It's quite rare for a British show to come to America and then the two just kind of meld together. Like, what's the biggest difference with working with a British cast and from an American, a fully American cast?
Yeah, I don't know about you, but I've always, had a love for the BBC. I just feel that it was a standard of excellence in a time when television didn't have enough, and I always felt like they had some of the most intelligent, creative people. I saw things on there that I have stuck with me all my life, and I can't find them now. And remember, what about this thing called The Farm? The BBC did that in the 80s, and so to work for BBC, and then they handled the international side. So we went to England, to London, and to Swansea, Wales to promote it, and you don't get the cars the way you do in American productions.
Yeah,
you don't get the perks.
Right, I was going to ask you about the budgets are quite different, so
Yeah.
it's a departure from what you've been doing.
Well, we're with Stars. There's a big infusion of cash flow.
Right, but I'm saying BBC, they're not used to having
BBC,
that.
they don't like to have a lot of splash.
Right.
They don't like you to, look like you're spending the state's, the citizens'
Right.
money. So there's a very,
Yeah,
it's a
good
nice.
point.
I like the aesthetic though. I think they've evolved
Right.
to doing it without all that excess.
So let me ask you this.
Waste.
What drew you to this role? Because you're a guy that has a very magnificent, large-ass feature film personality. And, here you are doing, Stars, which is a paid subscription television show, where it's migrated from the BBC, where they kind of are able to have more creative freedoms than, let's say, an American network. How do you feel about that kind of transition?
Well, if I can, I'm not that I'm sounding critical of what you're saying,
Right.
but I do feel like that was an older modality.
Really?
That I think in some ways it's been interesting to watch what BBC has had to be
Right.
careful of, whereas Stars doesn't have to be careful.
Right.
And
Yeah.
that, in a way, all of that's flopped in some ways.
Yeah.
And there's violence and there's sex, and those are the most potent things. And now there's the new normal, which is television is attracting some extremely great talent. That there's ways where I think all the tentpole movies are family experiences, so people go to the theaters to have family experiences, and they stay at home to have private, disturbing feelings about what they're watching.
So you're saying
and
it's
that's a
not
flip.
that Independence kind of day popcorn moment kind of thing. People are not headed towards that.
This series though has incredible ambition to gather a big crowd, and that with being true to itself. So it's taking risk. I think, I think it's there's a side of Russell and everybody that wants to make something that has the pop and flourish, and then the spook. I think of him as like. Goosebumps guy.
Whoa.
And he does it with great economy. There's an elegance to the way and it's not just Goosebumps. Oh, this is a weird half-dead insect that's crawling towards me. It's it's two people talking to each other in a way that gives you goosebumps. And I think he's an old classic kind of storyteller in that way. He's got special skills.
He's brilliant.